Some of our listeners today, especially those in Ohio, might remember a pretty significant news story about a plane that crashed in the tree canopy in Worthington suburb here outside of Columbus. The pictures in the news articles are frankly just unbelievable. Listeners, the front half of the plane appears to be largely gone. I think viciously crumpled, folded, and frankly pierced by tree limbs. Christine, when I look at these images online, the only word that comes to mind is hopeless. And yet you walked away.
Well, I ran away.
The fact that you ran, that's a whole nother level too, which makes it cooler in my mind. So take us back to that day. What was the weather like and how did your day start?
Yeah, it's first of all, I have to give a nod to my aircraft because the fuselage, the part that I'm sitting in, really was amazing. It did not crumble and it really stayed intact and helped me.
Like the skeleton, you'll have to explain that to me a little bit
Well,
more.
like when you climb in your car,
Yeah,
the part of the car where the seats are,
got
not
it.
where the engine is, and not, it just really it just nurtured me and but there's a lot of things that contributed to that. So it was a beautiful day. I was going to fly solo, which I covet because I'm so much uh, evaluating flight or teaching flight. I really covet that time in my personal plane. And I was on my way to North Bass Island, where I'm hoping to put a fly-in campground.
Awesome.
Just departed OSU, leveled off 1,000 feet above the ground because of CMH class Charlie comes over. So we do that to maintain clearance.
What does that mean?
Every airport has their own distinction. Their class Delta is Ohio State, class Charlie. The big boys, Atlanta is class Bravo for big. But so I was maintaining this altitude till clear of CMH class Charlie, and then I was going to pop up and get higher. And just crossing over 270, my engine kind of chortled. And I called the tower immediately, precautionary, to say, hey, I think I need to head back. They cleared me 27 left. Everything was normal. And
Is that a runway? You were going to go back to another runway?
Yeah, they cleared me to the specific runway. And I had the engine, I was just being precautionary. As I was making the 180 turn, I lost all power to the engine. So at that point, Tower said, if you want 2-3, that's also available. And it became a point where I said, I don't have any engine. This is an emergency. And we got to talking a little bit about what that means, how many souls on board, what was the scenario. And they said, you're cleared whatever runway you can get to. And we're talking a matter of seconds here. And it was clear to me I was not going to be able to make any runway. When you're just 1,000 feet above the ground and you lose your engine thrust, then you become a glider. So I'm a 3,000 pound, 71 gallon glider.
71 gallons of fuel, 71 gallons.
Yep. I had nearly full tanks.
Wow.
So, I just was a nice, heavy, big plane. So that changes the glide ratio. And it was pretty clear to me I wasn't going to make it back to the airport. So I see Brookside Country Club on my right. That has people and trees and uneven surface. So that's a no-go. And then I see on my left a soccer field, no people, lots of metal soccer goals, but I thought I can navigate those goals. And I start to bank left. But when you bank and you don't have thrust, that depreciates your lift component. So I started losing lift more, and the homes were right up against that field. So in those matter of seconds, I determined that was not a sound choice. I wasn't sure that I could get to the field. So I stopped banking, looked straight ahead, and that is where I found a treed area where I could not see any visible roofs.
So
Oof.
like, from like a physics perspective, you're in your beautiful plane. You're up in the air. You're largely now, you have no engine. You're just a glider
Right.
of significant weight in the sky. And so what you're trying to do is float around, seeking at all costs the safest place for you to land. And what you've already said twice or three times even is that you were trying to avoid people.
Oh, my entire focus, and there's some interesting things that happened after this event that I pursued to understand, but my entire focus was to not kill anybody else. That
Wow.
was absolutely it. I mean, it's my choice to be there. It's not an innocent person on the ground's choice for me to have to do an emergency landing. So that was my entire focus. And um, once I did the communicating with the tower and they knew what was happening, I did what we call a magneto check.
Hmm.
And after that check, I lost the radio stack.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't lose electricity, but I lost the entire radio
So you
stack.
have no communications at this time.
Right, which was fine. The information that needed to get out got out.
That
And
you were in significant danger, you were in failure. That was communicated, but everything else just shut
there
down.
was nothing anybody could do except potentially distract me. So I feel in
Wow.
some ways that was fine. The tower probably didn't enjoy that, and they were my first call when I was on the ground because I knew they were sitting there watching it. But that was good, and I am very, very grateful that I did not have anybody with me. So it was just me in the plane, and I had no problem deciding what my priority was and allowing whatever was going to happen to me. I would do my best, but I was ready to go.